Have you ever woken up, looked in the mirror, and seen your eyes empty? Not because your face has changed, but because deep inside you know you could be stronger, more confident, more respected, and yet somehow you remain stuck, day after day. You repeat the same old cycle, unlocking your phone, scrolling aimlessly, promising yourself, tomorrow I'll start. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you promised yourself only to break that promise? How many times have you waited for the right moment, but that moment never came? The cold truth is this: you don't become what you want. You become what you think over and over again in your head. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, your brain will turn it into a belief, and you'll live as an outsider in your own life. In 2008, when both Tesla and SpaceX stood on the edge of bankruptcy, Elon Musk didn't say, maybe I'll fail. He said, I won't stop until I succeed. His brain took the command and turned that belief into reality. And what about you? Will you keep waiting for someday, or will you start today? If you've ever felt stuck, type yes in the comments. I want to see how many of you are living in that loop. Because from this very moment, you must understand the world doesn't care. Whether you're ready or not, it only reacts to how you show up. Your journey doesn't start with muscle or money. It starts with the thoughts you feed your mind every single day. There is one mistake that kills millions. They believe confidence only comes after success. That only when you have money, fame, or a perfect body are you allowed to feel confident. But the cold truth is this: confidence is not a reward. It is a decision. You cannot wait to feel ready. You choose to act as if you are ready, even when your heart is still trembling. And that very decision becomes the trigger, forcing your brain, your body, your energy must evolve and match it. Look at Muhammad Ali. Before winning any titles, he declared, I am the greatest. People laughed and called him arrogant. But Ali understood one principle. If you don't define yourself, the world will define you. He chose to decide, and in the end, the world had no choice but to acknowledge what he had believed all along. Or take Elon Musk, when Tesla was drowning. In debt, many told him to quit. But Musk didn't wait for motivation. He slept on the factory floor, working 16 hours a day. He decided Tesla would survive, and his brain, his team, reality itself had to obey that decision. Weak people wait for inspiration. Strong people act first. Which group are you in? You want to be a leader, but you wait until your voice magically grows stronger. You want discipline, but you wait until you feel like it. That's why most people never begin. Because the world doesn't care if you are afraid or imperfect. It only sees how you show up. Every day, you are deciding to enter a room with avoiding eyes, or with a steady stance, to hit snooze, or to rise immediately and act. Each small decision, repeated long enough, will shape your entire life. So, write down in the comments one small decision you will make today, regardless of emotion. It could be waking up early, training for 20 minutes, or finally saying something you've always avoided. Because in the end, you are not your fleeting emotions. You are the decisions you repeat. And with just one right decision, repeated with consistency, you will transform into a completely different person. Here is a ruthless truth. You don't find yourself, you forge it. Most people live their entire lives under the labels slapped on them as children. You're shy, you're smart, you're not cut out for it. And then they believe it. They carry those labels for life, as if destiny had been carved in stone. But the truth is, destiny does not write your identity. You hold the pen. The ancient Romans understood this. When training soldiers, they didn't just teach them to wield swords and spears. They made them stand for hours, chest upright, eyes forward, shoulders unshaken. Every single day, they forged body and spirit until there was no longer a line between pretending and becoming. And then they were warriors, not because they were born that way, but because they acted like warriors until it became their nature. And what about you? You want respect, yet your eyes dart away when you speak. You want to be a leader, yet your voice trembles when you open your mouth. The world does not hand you an identity. You must seize it. You must act like the person you want to become, even when no one believes you yet. Remember Jeff Bezos. When Amazon was just a tiny bookstore in a garage, people laughed when he called it the everything store. But Bezos acted like the CEO of a global empire, even in a makeshift office. In the end, the world had no choice but to recognize him. If you don't forge yourself, the world will forge you into something average. And trust me, average is the harshest sentence of all. Identity is not discovered in a mirror. It is built brick by brick through actions, gestures, and words. Day you choose to stand tall instead of bowing your head, you lay the first brick. The day you look someone in the eye and speak with certainty, you lay the second. And piece by piece, those bricks rise into a fortress called me. One day, you will look back and realize that the strong person didn't fall from the sky. You forged him day by day, choice by choice. So, let me ask you, if today you had to perform as the strongest version of yourself, what's the first thing you would change? Write it down, don't hesitate. That is the very first step toward your new identity. Your brain is not a fair judge. It doesn't sit there analyzing whether what you think is true or false. Your brain is like a loyal army, and you are the general. Every sentence you speak to yourself is a command. If you whisper, "I'm weak," "I'm not good enough," "I'm not ready," your brain nods and makes it real. It doesn't argue. It simply obeys. And you spend your life as an outsider, not because you lack ability, but because you sentenced yourself. On the other hand, if you say, "I was born to conquer, I will make it," the brain also obeys. It begins to mobilize energy to change the way you stand, the way you speak, the way you look others in the eye. Those repeated commands, over time, carve themselves into your identity. The ancient Japanese understood this. Before each battle to the death, samurai would shout victory slogans, not for show, but to remind their brain, we have no choice but to fight and survive, not deny. And their body, spirit, and actions began to align with that belief today. Ronaldo does the same. He constantly affirms to himself that he is the number one player. Outsiders call it arrogance, but in reality, it is a strategy to program the brain, and his entire career is proof of those commands. Your brain is like a loyal dog. The question is, are you training it to be a guard dog or a trembling, fearful dog? Comment right now one command you want your brain to obey starting today. It could be "I was born to win" or "I will not break." Remember this, the brain does not question, it obeys. You are the general. If you don't issue the orders, it will automatically obey the trash you repeat in your head, and then those very words will command your life. If the brain is the loyal army, then discipline is the banner that leads it. But most people fail, not because they lack ability, but because they let emotions sit in the commander's chair. Emotions are like unstable guests. Today they bring excitement. Tomorrow they deliver ... fatigue, boredom, or fear. And if you let them steer your ship, your life will drift with every wave. Discipline is different. It is cold, steady, and indifferent to how you feel. And it is precisely that indifference that makes it stronger than any emotion. Think of Olympic athletes. While the world is still asleep, they rise at 5 a.m., dive into freezing waters, and push weights until their bodies shake. They don't train because they feel motivated. They train because discipline has spoken. And day after day, year after year, discipline turns them into legends. Elon Musk once slept on the Tesla factory floor, showered in public gyms, and worked 16-hour days. Do you think he was always overflowing with motivation? No. But he understood one thing: emotions are guests. Discipline is the master. How many times have you cancelled a workout just because I'm tired today? How many times have you delayed work simply because I'm not in the mood? Each time you do that, you hand over the keys of your life to emotions, and they have never been loyal to you. Write this in the comments: I choose discipline over emotion. If you are brave enough to make that vow to yourself, the world out there will not wait for you to get back in the mood. The sun will rise, the clock will keep ticking, and opportunities will always belong to the one who wakes earlier and is more disciplined. And one day, those who lived by emotion will bow their heads before those who lived by discipline. Because true strength is not found in what you do when you feel inspired. It is found in what you do when there is no motivation left. When your mind screams quit and you keep moving, that is the moment discipline makes you unstoppable. There is an illusion that kills millions of dreams. The success arrives the day the spotlight shines on you, when the crowd applauds, when people chant your name. But the cold truth is this: champions are not born under the lights. They are forged in the dark. Thomas Edison is living proof. People remember him for the electric light bulb, but few know he endured more than 10,000 failures. No one applauded when his bulbs kept exploding. No one cared when he stayed up through the night in a lab filled with smoke and the stench of burning wires. He didn't need the light. He created it in the darkness. The Spartan warriors were the same. They didn't become terrors on the battlefield in a single day. They were forged through brutal training under freezing skies with no one cheering. When they marched into war, they didn't need to scream. Their silence alone spread fear because the enemy knew these men had long been trained to fight in silence. In the modern world, Kobe Bryant is proof. People called him the Black Mamba, but what made him great wasn't just the legendary shots before thousands of fans. It was the mornings at 4 a.m., when all of Los Angeles was asleep, and he stood alone in an empty gym. Dim fluorescent lights overhead, sweat dripping to the floor, his hands burning from thousands of repetitive shots. No cameras, no shears. But it was there, in the darkness and silence, that Kobe was forged into a legend. If you cannot win in the dark, you will never win under the lights. And what about you? Do you only want to shine when there's an audience? Or are you willing to fight when no one cares? If you are ready to forge yourself in silence, comment, "I fight in the dark." This is the vow that you dare to win on the silent battlefield when no one is watching. Because it is there, when it's just you and the voice in your head, that true strength is forged. And when the spotlight finally shines on you, the whole world will see. But only you will know that victory was built in the long, silent days of darkness. After the silent battlefields, what truly defines you. Not one giant leap, but the small bricks you lay down every single day. Willpower doesn't appear in one explosive moment. It is built like a fortress, slowly, steadily, brick by brick. Every time you wake up early, instead of lying in bed, you place a brick. Every time you focus on your work, instead of getting lost in your phone, you place another brick. Every time you choose to confront, instead of run away, the wall rises higher. Day after day, those small bricks accumulate into an unbreakable fortress. Never underestimate a single brick. A wall doesn't collapse from the first cannon shot, but from the tiny crack that was ignored. The ancient Persians had a strategy called the chain of small victories. After every battle survived, they carved a mark into their weapon, not to boast, but to remind themselves, yesterday I won, today I can too. Each mark was a brick in the fortress of belief. In the modern world, Kobe Bryant is the perfect example. People called him the Black Mamba, not because of a few legendary games, but because, for decades, every single day, he arrived at the gym before his teammates, throwing thousands of shots into the basket in silence. Each morning, he laid another brick, and when the lights finally shone, the world saw the massive wall that had been built from those silent bricks. You might think, it's just one missed workout. What's the big deal? But that just once is the crack in the fortress. A single crack is enough for water to seep in, enough for the wall to fall. On the other hand, one small action repeated long enough becomes the strongest foundation. The world will test your walls with failure, loss, and pain. But if you have built them with thousands of bricks of discipline, they will not shake. And each time you stand firm, you gain more faith, laying new stones thicker, stronger. One day, you will realize that fortress was not given to you. No one built it for you. It was raised with your own sweat, your own blood, and your cold decisions. So, let me ask you, what brick will you lay down today? Write it down right now, because the brick you place today will decide the fortress you live in tomorrow. Here's a truth few dare to accept. Every great person once pretended. When you see a leader walk into a room and their presence shifts the entire atmosphere. When you see an athlete standing strong before tens of thousands of fans, you think they were born that way. But on their first day, they were no different from you. Trembling, doubtful, uncertain. The only difference is that they dared to pretend to be powerful before the world believed it. Muhammad Ali once declared, "I am the greatest." At the time, many laughed, calling him arrogant. But Ali understood, if he didn't define himself, the world would define him as ordinary. And day after day, he acted, trained, and moved as if those words were already true. Until eventually, the entire world had no choice but to acknowledge them. The world calls it pretending. History calls it the forging stage. Steve Jobs was the same. When he unveiled the first iPhone, he carried himself as if it were an inevitable revolution. Even though the market was full of skepticism, he lived, spoke, and acted like a prophet of technology until the world had no choice but to believe him. What people call pretending is nothing more than the first draft of truth. You put on the armor of who you want to become until your muscles, your thoughts, your very breath fuse with it. One day, you even forget you were ever trembling. The real question is, what are you pretending? Are you pretending to be weak, helpless, mediocre, and turning it into your fate? Or will you dare to pretend to be a warrior, a leader, an unbreakable force until you finally believe it yourself? Don't fear being called fake. You are not fake. You are training. And one day, you will look in the mirror and realize what you once called pretending has fused into truth. Inseparable, so I ask you, have you ever pretended to be confident or strong in a situation? Share that story, because what you call pretending today may one day be the very moment you began to become yourself. There is a trap that keeps most people forever mediocre. They live off external motivation. An epic song, an inspiring video, a compliment from someone for a few minutes. They burn bright, but that flame dies as quickly as it was lit, and they return to their familiar stagnation. The cold truth is this: external fire is only a spark. The fire within is eternal. The Spartans didn't wait for the sound of war drums to charge into battle. They were the drum. Their eyes carried the fire. Their steps carried resolve. And their silence alone struck fear into the enemy. Cristiano Ronaldo is the same. While his teammates went home to rest, he stayed on the field, running alone, sweating alone. No cameras, no applause. But he knew the inner fire must burn constantly, even when the world is silent. Ordinary people need someone else to light their fire. Extraordinary people have become the fire itself. Which group are you in? Do you need motivation to begin, or do you have the will to create it yourself? Comment right now one phrase you will use to ignite your inner fire whenever hesitation strikes. For example, I move now, or no excuses, because the inner fire does not depend on circumstances. It doesn't need a crowd. It only needs you to rise one more time, despite your emotions begging you to quit. External fire makes you act once. The inner fire makes you act forever. And that is the line between dreamers and dominators. When you nurture that fire, your presence alone silences the room. You don't need to shout to prove anything. Your steps speak for you, and the world is forced to make way. If you've walked with me this far, there is one truth you must face. Every action, every decision, every thought you repeat is sculpting a person. And one day, you will meet him. He is the version you dream of, stronger, more confident, more respected. A man who walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. He has always been inside you, but buried under fear, procrastination, and average habits. You can keep living as you are, promising, then breaking, waiting, then missing, looping in meaningless circles. Or you can begin today, step by step, wiping away the dust until one day you meet him again in the mirror. Don't expect fireworks. Don't expect a cheering crowd. The real moment doesn't happen when people applaud. It happens when you look in the mirror, and for the first time, you don't have to pretend anymore. That day will come. The question is, will you meet a stranger you once dreamed of, or the version of yourself forged through blood, sweat, and discipline? One day, you will look into your own eyes in the mirror and hear a voice say, "I was here from the beginning. Thank you for not quitting." And in that moment, you won't need to shout, "I'm strong," anymore. Your very presence will be the proof. No one can take that moment from you because it doesn't come from luck. It is built from every decision you made when no one was watching. From the fire you fed when everyone else had gone dark. So, I ask you, do you dare to meet that version of yourself? Do you dare to face the person you've always known, deep down, you could become? If the answer is yes, write these 4 words in the comments. I was born for this. Not for me to see, not for others to see, but so that you see. Today, you have chosen. Leave that vow, because maybe this is the very first brick in the fortress you will live in for the rest of your life.